Hello and welcome to this week's edition of ELCAT News. I'm your host, Jen Carlos. On Monday, the Planning Matters Subcommittee of the Town Council met to take up the issue of a mixed-use zoning bylaw for the town. The proposed bylaw drafted by the Planning Board would set guidelines for the approval of parcels 20 acres in area or larger as eligible for development with a mix of residential, business, and commercial uses.
Okay. If we're looking at a mixed-use development, and we're going to do 85% residential and 15% commercial, I think that's an imbalance. If we're going to be looking at a mixed use, let's make it a true mixed use if we decide to move in that direction. But 85-15 at best is not mixed use to me. It's not a split.
Sid.
I'd like to find out, the planning board came up with this. I'd like to hear George's reasoning for coming up between 5 and 15 before I say anything.
That's a fair point. George, you prepared to answer that?
Yeah, we looked at it, initially said 5 to 10, and we bumped it up to 15. We're looking at the mixed-use buildings themselves will probably be 3 stories. Okay, so if your your non-residential is on the first floor, then that's 25% right there. But the developers have also been talking about having townhouses and standalone houses that on the development, which would bring that number down from 25. And we also spoke with the proponents, and they had concerns about being able to guarantee that they could fill up more than that 5% minimum. Okay, that initially it may be an issue to meet higher than that number. So we felt it was a compromise. We didn't want it to be all commercial, which is why we put 15 at the top. We were bouncing between 10 and 20, and we said 15. Okay, and the 5 is just an absolute minimum.
I know in Boston, for instance, if they have a project over a certain size, and this would certainly more than qualify, they require 13% affordable housing. Underscore the word, it's affordable housing. I didn't say low income, it says affordable, and affordable is defined by the community.
No.
It's, in other words, affordable in Boston. What I'm trying to say is affordable in Boston is not the same as affordable in Springfield or Worcester, right? Correct?
You need to understand that affordable is a code word for subsidized.
Now we are at, it says 7%. We have 6,154 housing units. We have subsidized housing inventory at 445. And the regional fair share for East Longmeadow, there is an additional 170 affordable units. Now that's always been out there. We are a diverse community, and with that come diverse housing needs. And we do have subsidized housing in town through our elderly housing projects. And that's what the bulk of our subsidized housing. We do have one comprehensive permit on Benton Drive. So, that being said, that has always been something that's there. And when you're talking about creating a development that will enhance the housing stock with upper, higher end units, and that's what we're hearing, that you can't legislate that in a bylaw, but that's what we're hearing, that will not address this particular need, and actually it won't address another need that the town has, and that was presented pretty well at your meeting, George, from the director of the Council on Aging, Carolyn Brennan, who indicated that the seniors, a lot of the folks that live in East Longmeadow, they don't meet the low to moderate income, and they don't meet the luxury standard, and they're sort of caught in the middle, and they're looking for units that are in the $1,200 to $1,500 range, monthly rent with 2 bedrooms, laundry, and I think she said carports, I'm not sure, but anyway, the point is that this bylaw, the way it's written, to me doesn't address either of those issues.
The subcommittee will meet again on Monday, September 23rd. At back-to-back meetings this week, the council took up several issues related to personnel changes in town government. On Tuesday, Council President Kathy Hill shared comments from Joe Ford, who resigned from the council on August 24th.
It has been a pleasure to serve the town over the last 3.5 years.
I am honored to have been a part of this transformation and feel like the council has accomplished a lot for the community. It has been a great learning experience, and I have met some amazing people in town. We have some very important initiatives in front of us, and I feel that it is time for me to step down given my time constraints. There are other ways that I can help the town, and I am looking forward to doing this in my next chapter. Again, I want to thank the residents for the opportunity they gave me to serve the town of East Longmeadow. Sincerely, Joseph Ford.
Hill then outlined the process the council will follow to fill the vacated seat.
What I would like to say is that the charter is specific about vacancies on the council, and the language says that within 30 days of notification of a vacancy, the council president must call for a special meeting, at which point a replacement will be appointed by the full council to the open seat. The appointment will be for simply the balance of, in this case, Mr. Ford's term, which would end on June 30th, but ironically, he was also up for re-election in the coming year. So the person who is appointed would have the opportunity, if he or she chose, to run for the permanent seat, but that is in the future. That said, I am going to call for a special council meeting on Tuesday, the 2 weeks from today, 24th of September, to start at 5 o'clock, because we have a regular scheduled meeting that is on pace for 6 o'clock. At the 5 o'clock meeting, those individuals who have thus far indicated an interest in serving, and at this point today, there are 4 individuals who have submitted letters of interest and accompanying resumes.
As of Wednesday, according to Clerk Tom Florence, the 4 residents who have submitted letters of interest are Marilyn Richards, Jonathan Torsha, Billy Gorman, and Connor O'Shea. Also on Tuesday, Hill introduced Acting Town Manager Mary McNally.
I'm happy to introduce Mary McNally, the acting town manager right now, and welcome her, as we did a few weeks back, to East Longmeadow, and look forward to some positive work relationships with her throughout the next few months. And that said, Mary, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your welcoming me to East Longmeadow. I do appreciate the opportunity that's been given to me to manage the town's affairs while you search for a permanent town manager. My remarks tonight are very brief. I've only been here 2 weeks, which essentially is 7 days, because I'm on a limited part-time schedule of approximately 18 hours a week. I'm trying to work 3 days at 6 hours, give or take, but I'm, with the indulgence of the council president and the other members, have some flexibility depending on the needs of the employees and department heads. I'm trying to accommodate where people need me to be as opposed to where I would want to be necessarily. To date, my attention has been on human resource matters. There's a variety, a miscellaneous variety of issues pending in the town. Some are disciplinary, some are contractual, some involve vacancies in key positions. So I'm trying to get a handle on all of that as a first priority. And I am intending to meet with all the department heads next week to continue the policy or the practice of monthly department head meetings, so that I can be in communication directly with each department head with respect to their budget needs, their capital planning needs, and their individual concerns for how they think they can better manage their departments and how I can assist with that.
Later, the council voted to authorize McNally to appoint several vacant positions in Town Hall, including a part-time consultant to assist with HR and current assistant clerk Jean Quaglietti as the acting clerk. Tom Florence will be leaving September 30th for a job in the private sector. The Town Council also held a public hearing on Tuesday regarding a proposed zone change from residential to industrial for a parcel on Pease Road.
Mr. Martin?
Good evening. As some of you know, and others who are new, we initiated this process quite some time ago by coming before you at the outset to request that you take the zone change petition and forward it to the planning board for a public hearing on our request. This is known as 0 Pease Road South, and it is at the very southern tip of East Longmeadow, bordering Summers. It is part of the old Bilton farm. It is a wooded, vacant lot, and my client, PLHHC and Ecos, proposed putting a solar farm on there, which would complement a solar array project that they already have approved in Summers, Connecticut. We went to the we went to the planning board, and as I said at the time, at the end of the hearing, we didn't need to be a weatherman to know which way the wind was blowing by the board, and they did not endorse the petition to this council. We then went before the subcommittee, and they too were not in favor of the zone change. In the meantime, my client pursued an independent course in the land court, and that was an action that the town was a party to, and on August 20th, 2019, the Chief Justice of the Land Court issued a written decision. And in that decision, it's fair to say that the owner, the taxpayer here, the applicant, prevailed against the town of East Longmeadow, and the land court ruled against the town of East Longmeadow and its zoning arrangement restricting solar activities to the 2 industrial garden and industrial district. Today, that planning department was unaware of this decision, as were several other people, and so we had intended until 3 o'clock to present the petition based on the ruling of the land court. We thought you would have no choice but to grant it, but in the spirit of cooperation and looking forward to building a solar array here and working with the town, my client would not object if the town council would like to request an extension or a reasonable continuance of the hearing in order to give it time to digest the decision, to look at the options presented by the court, and work with the petitioner in order that we can move forward.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I guess I'm sort of taking the drama out of this tonight and saying if you'd like us to go forward, we're prepared to, but we would not object if the council wanted to say we'd like to continue this public hearing now and save our energy. Obviously, there could be a public hearing going forward or not, but we'd rather direct our energies with the town to following the court's order.
I appreciate your remarks. Just to echo what Attorney Martin has said, the land court justice did render a decision on August the 20th, but that information only found its way to Attorney Maynard's office yesterday. And so he advised Ms. McNally and myself that that decision had been made, and so the counselors here have not had any advance opportunity yet to look at the decision or to discuss among ourselves what we ought to do and how to proceed. So now I'm going to defer again to Attorney Maynard.
And I appreciate Mr. Martin's position on behalf of his clients. Just to clarify on the record, however, the issues to be resolved in the lawsuit by PLH are somewhat different from this petition for a zoning change. I think the point that Mr. Martin and I would agree on is that a zoning change may be unnecessary if the proposed project is to go forward, notwithstanding it is a residential zone. Mr. Martin and I might disagree exactly on the import of the decision by the land court. I think it's fair to say the land court has provided the town, certainly the land court has declared under the pertinent statute that the town cannot prohibit ground-based solar arrays in a residential zone, but it has left open to the town the ability to regulate, reasonably regulate, as long as regulations are not unreasonable with respect to this particular proposed project. and has invited the town to consider what those reasonable regulations might be with respect to this project. So that would be the next task, I think, for the planning board. But I would certainly agree with Mr. Martin that it makes sense to put off consideration of this zoning change for a period of time, ultimately to determine whether a zoning change is even necessary.
On Wednesday, the council met with Bernie Lynch of Community Paradigm Partners, the firm chosen by the council to conduct a national search for the permanent town manager. Lynch sought insight from council members as to the qualities they think are important for a new manager to bring to the position.
So I guess from the question I would throw out to the council to start is, what are the characteristics of the person you would like to hire? How would you define or describe the type of manager that you want? But what are the issues of the way you function as a governing body with your town manager that you would like to see in place?
There's a number of individual characteristics that I have identified over the last several years being on the council, and they focus around, and not in an order of importance, but enthusiasm, cooperation, will to adapt, and a self-starter.
Okay.
I think those are important characteristics in any town manager. They shouldn't be sitting around waiting for direction from us, but they shouldn't be also going off on their own without consulting with us on important issues.
Okay.
So that's where the cooperation or the will to be a team player comes in.
Some of the comments, I echo Tom's comments, some of mine as well. I think experience is important as well.
The word, I would use the word, I'd phrase it as vested. We'd like to see somebody vested in the community.
I'd like to see someone who is collaborative, and I know that is a buzzword that's probably overused on resumes
now, right.
and in conversation. Collaborative only goes so far if you're willing to compromise.
Right.
And I think we were challenged in that department in recent months.
Okay.
So to me, if an individual or a candidate says, I'm all in, I'm collaborative, I'm going to ask, give me an example of where you collaborated, but then compromised
Right.
on something that wasn't necessarily where you started from.
Right.
Myself, I'm looking for someone with strong communication skills.
Okay.
I want someone who will get back to the public when they make inquiries, and time management skills
Right.
is another huge process that I look at.
Right.
And in all honesty, I look for someone who's fiscally conservative.
Okay.
I want someone who can look at a budget, analyze the budget. The taxpayers want the most they can get for their money.
But I'm not going to urge you to enforce the residency provision, because I think that limits your field dramatically. Someone that's out and about, that's members of a civic organization, goes and speaks to the PTO, goes and out and participates at community events. Is that something you'd like to see?
I would say unequivocally yes, from my perspective.
And through the chair, I would say that that's possible. You can find that person who might not live in the town, but be willing to do that.
Right.
That would be the only way I would want to see a non-resident.
Lynch also gave an overview and approximate timeline of the process moving forward.
What we hope to do after tonight is, as I said, to draft up that position statement. And then once you approve that position statement, we do several things. One, we advertise, we recruit, and I think that's what's significant. If this was just a matter of putting an ad in the paper or putting an ad in the MMA, you could do that yourself. You wouldn't need us. Hopefully we're here because we have some expertise in what municipal management's all about, and we have a network. We do have a very extensive network built around the work we've done in other communities, as well as my involvement, as well as other people that work with us, their involvement in municipal management. We will find you candidates. Generally, we like to have that process of advertising and recruiting take about 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. Since you've notified us that you've brought us on, which was a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, we've already been making phone calls. We have people already anticipating this position and planning to apply. Now you're competing with other communities because there are a number of communities out there looking. So right now I'm thinking that we will probably be able to sit down with your screening committee in, as I think I indicated, probably late October. And then from that, we will work with the screening committee to narrow those people, that field down to probably about 7 people. We'll come out here, we'll spend probably a day doing interviews with your screening committee. I think that's what we've actually called for in the proposal. Is we'll sit down for a day and we'll interview 7 people. And from that, they will pick, hopefully, 3 people to send on to you. We'll put that in front of you and then help you interview the candidates and make a choice. And then we stand ready to assist you with your negotiation of any contract that you would be doing.
On Wednesday, the East Longmeadow Fire Department hosted its 18th annual vigil to honor the victims of the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
I welcome you to this non-candlelight vigil this year because we're inside on the 18th anniversary of the devastating day, September 11th.
And I also want to plead with everyone not to forget our men and women who are still fighting overseas in a fight that didn't begin, frankly, on 9/11 and certainly didn't end in the months or years after 9/11.
That when a tragedy like this happens, it reminds us how blessed we are.
Earlier today, we had a ceremony in Springfield, the riverfront, at the new 9/11 memorial that's out there with a piece of the steel that came from 9/11 and the names of the first responders that perished on 9/11. If you haven't been there, take an opportunity to go there and see that solemn place and reflect upon what that means. The names of the individuals who were on first responder duty, who ran into that building, when most people were running out.
So hold your loved ones close today and whisper in their ear. Tell them how much you love them and that you'll always hold them dear. Take the time to say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, or it's okay. And if tomorrow never comes, you'll have no regrets about today.
On Thursday, the Pleasant View Senior Center held a kickoff event for the designation of East Longmeadow as a dementia-friendly community. Council on Aging health educator Lisa Fontaine outlined the purpose and goals of a dementia-friendly community.
Our next step today is to introduce you to our initiative, the idea of dementia-friendly East Longmeadow. So as you hear about this, as we go forward throughout the year, you'll understand what our goals are: to become a welcoming community. Education is key to this initiative. So we have Megan LeMay, who's going to, from the Alzheimer's Association, who's going to give a presentation about dementia a little later. We also have a resolution for our town council to endorse in support of the initiative of dementia-friendly East Longmeadow. Then we're going to develop an action plan which will entail education throughout the community of businesses, first responders, town government, healthcare professionals, and the faith communities, the housing authorities, and as much as we can reach out into the community to educate people about dementia. It's to help equip business owners and first responders to recognize and assist those with memory loss, and empower people with dementia to engage independently and safely in the community life for as long as possible.
Last Saturday, several town departments in partnership with 2 local businesses held the 2nd annual East Longmeadow Bike Rodeo at the high school. Obstacle courses, races, a bike ride with the ELPD Bike Patrol, helmet fitting, and giveaways were on tap for the event. Organizers were thrilled with the turnout of over 150 participants and enthusiastic about the rodeo becoming a popular community event each fall. That's it for this week's edition of ELCAT News. I'm Jen Carlos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.